when we set about building the distillery, we said, I mean, obviously the first question is, when will be your first whiskey? When is your first single malt? And you don't know. You just have to wait and see. And we always said that we would bottle Ardnamurchan when it was ready. And in fact, we think it's ready before it is even whiskey. So from now on, every year, we're going to do very small batch releases. This year, it is simply called Spirit, because it hasn't gone 3 years old yet. Next year, it may be a whiskey, but even after 3 years, you don't necessarily have enough 3-year-old to make a bottling. So we will carry on doing this in small batches until we have enough to make a single malt. And that will maybe be around 2020, 21, but we shall see. But this first one is an experimental batch, because we're very lucky to have a maturation warehouse set into the hillside at the back of the site, the distillery. And that means we have 2 floors. So you have the underground floor, which is cold and damp, just like a traditional Scottish warehouse, and the temperature stays the same the whole year round. And that is perfect for long-term maturation. But upstairs, we have a concrete floor and very close to the roof. And in the summer, it can be high 20s, and in the winter, it can be about 5 or 4 degrees. So that fluctuation in temperature speeds up the maturation. It also gives more to the angels, sadly. It does make quicker maturation. And in August this year, Fraser and I decided to do some reconnaissance work. And we opened up a few casks upstairs. And these were experimental 55-litre sherry casks, octaves. They're all made out of American oak, so not Spanish oak, but American oak. And the reason for that is that Spanish oak is very aggressive, and the tannins that come out of the wood that give it the dark, the sort of Coca-Cola colour, they would be too much in a cask that size. They would take over the whiskey completely. So we specify these American oak octaves, and they were seasoned with Pedro Jimenez sherry and Oloroso sherry. And this first bottling, which will be released in about 3 weeks' time, is a combination of 29 of these octaves. 15 were from our peated spirit from June last year, so just over 1 year old, and 14 were from our unpeated spirit from October 2014, so just over 2 years old. We put them together, we worked out which ones would go best together, and then we reduced gradually down from about 60–61%, which was the strength, until we got to a strength which was nice to drink, but it hadn't lost the weight and the texture, which is the really extraordinary part about it. So 53% is what we've come up with for the bottling. You can see the natural colour is already extraordinary for what is technically a 1-year-old spirit. And the whole point about this is to show you the distillery character, which is already coming through. And when I was asked right at the beginning, what flavour do you want to get out of your whiskey? I said, well, if I can get a combination of my favourite distilleries, or some of them, I'll be very happy. And they include Clynelish, Highland Park, Talisker, and Springbank. So really the kind of the north and the west Highlands, which is where we are in Ardnamurchan. So we've got the honey of Clynelish on the nose. It's almost like honeycomb. It's very, very rich. We've then got a touch of kind of heathery smoke as well, which is what you have in Highland Park. When you taste it, excuse me, I brought some Scottish coffee with me. When you taste it, you have a big dose of chili pepper on the tongue, and Talisker is well known for having chili pepper. Who knows where it comes from, but we've got it, which is great. And then the peated, and we're not heavily peated at Ardnamurchan, we're about 30 ppm, so it's always meant to be in the background, coming through. When that peatiness comes through, you'll notice it's a nice sort of maritime, salty, seaside, dirty peatiness, so a bit like Bunnahabhain or Springbank. And it's all in there. Yes, it's young, but the texture and the flavour has already arrived. So we were so pleased that we designed a new bottle, which is here. This is the prototype. And the colour of the glass is, it resembles the stone that you get on the beaches in Ardnamurchan, because there was one giant volcano centuries ago. So this is all lava. It's old lava, basically, on the stone, on the beaches. So that's the colour of that. We then have a clear glass hydrometer, so you can see the colour of the whiskey. Which is that's a very Adelphi thing. We like you to see the colour. And we were going to put a little thing here, and we didn't, but we were going to put one which said, "Buy another one." Anyway, what we decided to do was to tell the story. So you start off with concerto barley, of course. You have to have barley to make whiskey. And we grow our barley on our own farm down in Fife, the Brumhall farm. And then it comes up to Ardnamurchan eventually. And the water is from Glenmore Spring. And the other crucial part about our distillery, it's the first one in Scotland to be heated and powered solely by locally sourced renewable energy. So wood chip boiler from the forestry 2 miles away, and hydroelectricity from the river where we take the cooling water. So renewable energy, long fermentation, slow distillation, and Fraser and his colleagues, well, you'll see them sitting there at midnight waiting for the distillation to finish. It goes on and on and on. And then, of course, the casks, in this case, Oloroso and PX. Identifiable. So we want our whiskey, our spirit, and then our whiskey to be unique. We want the flavour profile to be standalone, if you like, and we hope we're getting there. And then the last word is unpronounceable, because Ardnamurchan is not the easiest to pronounce. And then down here on the label, we have 2016 AD. So that sounds like the date, Anno Domini, but it also means AD Ardnamurchan Distillery. So next year it'll be 2017 AD, and so on and so on. So that's it. It will be, and the dancer man on top, just to show it's Adelphi. We're just waiting for the bottles to arrive, I think the week after next, and then we'll bottle it up and get it out to the markets. 2,500 bottles estimated for this batch for the world. But there we are. Slange.
What do you think? 1 year old? 1 year old? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. It's always in the top 5 of Germany, so you get good allocation. Relatively good. Good. So, in terms of what we're doing up the road as well, I mean, again, feel free. Sorry?
Can you repeat the 4 names of the famous distilleries which you like to implement in your whiskey? It was Teilnehmer, it was Highland Park.
So coming round from the east, Kleinleash. Kleinleash on the east coast.
That was the missing one. Thank you.
Right.
What, spring?
And Springbank, yeah. I'm Bunnahabhain and Springbank. I like that kind of maritime dirtiness, you know. Yeah. But texture, I mean, texture is one of the big things that we always look for in Adelphi. And I don't know, I can't actually show you in this bottle because it's covered. But when we do our selection process, we do what's called the beading test, and we shake the bottle. And a whiskey over 46% and over a certain age will always throw a head of beads or bubbles. But we've never seen a young spirit do it before, and this one does it, which is why you're getting this big texture in the mouth. So now we have some whiskey. So just to bring you up to speed with what else has been going on at the distillery. Obviously, Fraser joined us in March this year. Our ultimate output, if you like, is around 500,000 litres, but that's working around the clock, day and night, 3 shifts. So up until now, we've been gradually working up from 3-day weeks to 4-day weeks to 5-day weeks. Currently on a 6-day week, doing 7 mashes. So we're looking at about 200,000 litres of alcohol this year. It's quite a lot. I mean, that's more than Kilherman's, as an example. And then next year, we're planning, all being well, to go up to about 350 to 400,000. So that will be a double shift, 5-day week. Which will mean the team up there will be up to, what will you be?
It'll be 4 operators and 2 warehouses.
4 operators, yeah. And well, talking of warehouses, the warehouse is almost full already, which is great. It smells fantastic. There's mould on the walls already. All that fungus is coming out. But it does mean that we're going to have to build new ones by July next year. So we're planning, we're planning to have about 5 new ones just above the site on the next level up. We really want as much as possible, if not everything, to be matured there.
2-story?
No, they'll be single. The land, because it goes up like that, and then it flattens a little bit, so we'll get them on the flat part. We ran unpeated spirit this year until September, and then we moved back to peated, and we'll run peated now for another probably month, and then we'll go back to unpeated for 3 months, and then again, so we're switching over every sort of 3 months, 3 to 6 months. We're still filling Woodford from Kentucky, Woodford American barrels, and from Spain we have some excellent first fill Oloroso PX sherry casks. The only issue is, as the pound has gone, the price of buying these casks has obviously risen. So we're now, as of last week, 1 sherry hogshead, so this size, is costing me £800. 1 cask, empty. About 650. So it's a big difference. But you have to get everything right now, because otherwise in the future you can't look back. And in 8 years, 10 years time, if we didn't do what we should do now, it'll be a waste of time. So that's the distillery. We're now going to have some Adelphi bottlings, some recent ones. These are all done in the last few weeks. The first one coming round is our blended malt called Glenborrow-dale. So if you haven't had Glenborrow-dale before, this is batch number 3. We started it last year, and it is a combination of malts from different distilleries in Scotland, which include Highland Park, Tamdhu, quite heavily sherried Glenrothes, and some peated Bunnahabhain. The first 2 batches there was quite a lot of peated Bunnahabhain. This one there's less, but there's more of the heavily sherried Glenrothes. So you get less smoke, more sherry on this one. It's reduced to 46%, as we tend to do with our multi-cask bottlings. And we got about, 1,200 bottles, I think, from the batch, give or take. Bunnahabhain.